people like tier lists. I don't like tier lists because tier lists indicate my favorite, my S class, my A class, and then people who look at it go, well, I wouldn't buy something in the B class because obviously Zeos didn't put that high enough for me to consider. And that's bullshit because what's in my B class might be in your S class, and I won't do it. However, because of the Dakoni video, if you didn't see, Dakoni put out a video where they took a bunch of YouTubers to talk about headphones and asked them to do like one headphone for the best headphone or one of the most standout headphones for 2021 and talk about it and submit a 1-minute clip. My clip included 13 headphones, 5 IEMs, and I did it in 60 seconds. So I'll link to that video below somewhere. Dakoni should pay me for that, but they're not going to because I'm a good guy. We'll work it out later. They still send me pads. Now, today is when I made that 1-minute clip. And I was it took me like 15 tries to get it done. So now I said, you know what? I got my own channel. No one's got a time limit on Zeos' channel. Let's look back at all the amplifiers that I've used in the last year, ones that were on my review channel from 2021 to the end of 2021. And let's discuss and see how they've stacked up, because this is most of them. This is most of the amplifiers. I'm talking about pure amplifiers, not amp DAC combos, not headphone and speaker amp combos. That'll be a whole separate other one of these videos if you guys like it. But let's just look back at amplifiers that I have, reviewed this year. Look at my rack. My rack is abysmal. I've yanked most of them out to put them here because I'm pretty sure the A90 was a 2020 baby. So I don't know where to begin. I guess the Singxer SA-1 was like the first, hi Aska, was like the first holy fuck amp of the year. Do we agree with that? I think I sold more of these than Volkswagen sold Beetles in the 60s, because it's not pure Class A, but it is very, very biased Class A. It says Class A full balanced, and it is fully balanced. And it does sound like a Class A, and the switches are on the bottom. And I'm not going to look up prices for every one of these. That would just take me too long in pregame. But I think this runs around $650. And when you switch the bottom switches to high gain, which they're all pinned to high gain, you get enough power for like 90% of headphones on the wall. And you get this like warmth and subtlety that contrasting against the topping A90, which is the poster child of good headphone amplifiers. I'm going to have to link that one in the description, even if it came out last year, because the A90 still to this moment stands vertically right there with its anime waifu on it. And it's like everything must now be judged. Is it softer than this? Is it more critical than this? It's like it's the line in the sand. And the Singxer was the first one to show up with its mechanical switches, just like that has, which I like. I like old school mechanical, like I want to pick things and not wait for a menu, which is why the Sonka's SHA-1 amp will not be attending this thing, because I fucking sold that. But yeah, this amp, I think I told more people to buy this than I told people to get fucking vaccinations. Like, no. You can get vaccinated or you can get an SA-1. It was usually the SA-1. So yeah, this is nothing to be snarked at. And we'll go back right on the rack right there. There's only 1 or 2 amplifiers that compete with this level of like soft yet smooth. Like it does something to the sound that I have a hard time disagreeing with. This, the Geshelli, it's not a J2, it's not a JNOG, it's an E2, because it's the Erish 2. So this is Geshelli's, and you don't have to get it in a wooden case. I love it in the wooden case, but you don't have to get it in there. A little bit of a damage there, because this is like their first. And it's another balanced. Here's the thing. This is only balanced in, only balanced out. So this is it's already like limiting who's going to look at it, but you should probably look at it, because this doubles the power of the previous, that one right there, actually. Here's the original Erish. It doubles the power, and it adds, what the hell is the fuck? Every time I need to say the words and describe the power output of this, I just forget. It's like phase coupled? Whatever. The point is, it stays here. In fact, it isn't on my rack. I haven't moved it because there's a matching wooden DAC that goes with this, and the stack just looks so pretty, I can't separate the two. So yeah, this current mode amplification. I remembered. This uses current mode amplification, which is weird in the way it delivers. Essentially, the harder your headphone is to drive, the easier this thing has. Easier time this has, which is backwards. Usually you put a hard to drive headphone in something and it's like, oh, it's struggling. Put a hard to drive headphone in a current mode amplifier and it's like, yeah, I'm better at this. So the fact that it's only balanced, the fact that it can come in wood, and the fact that it's so fucking cheap compared to like almost everything on here. There's a couple decent like cheap buys here, but this, I love Geshelli and I love the way that thing sounds. And everyone who hears it goes, oh, maybe I should take them seriously. So should I just work up the stack or should I like move over? Let's go out here. Topping A50S. I did this at the beginning of the year. And in last year's, there's actually a 2020 headphone amp roundup. Or I just called it that and it was like 3 amps. It's got like 100,000 views. So let's just pull this one off. Marketing. This is pretty much the smallest high-end amplifier you can buy. Look at this fucking thing. This is minuscule. You'll note the power cord. I haven't unplugged it because it's a very specific power cord. It's a 15 volt that runs to that giant honking power brick if in case you wanted to use the linear power supply. But this thing is like a solid block of aluminum, high-low gain, balanced output with 4.4. When you see RCAs in the back of an amp, but then you see a balanced output, that doesn't make this a liar. It's not a balanced amp. You don't have to have XLR connectors into an amp to make the amp itself balanced. Everything internally is balanced. It's 2 separate amplifiers running to the front. You're just feeding it with a lower voltage signal. That's the only difference. And this, if we want to talk about the A90, this was like if you took the A90 and said, oh, scratching my beard, you can't see. Can we minimalize that into like something that I could take on the space shuttle? Boom. Although I would make it out of like, what's the lightest metal? Somebody in chat, what's the lightest metal? Because this is fucking, if you needed to take an amp if you're like gonna bludgeon someone, not to death, but like fuck them up real bad in a bathroom, and you used a topping A50S, the cops would never be able to figure it out until they see like the button and the nice build and then the right in their face. This thing, just for its size, like if you're going for super minimalism and you want an A90, here you go. Thing's powerful too. It's a couple watts per channel. I don't remember the specific. I think it's like 3.4 out of the balanced. So that can't be denied. A spot here in this video, in this highlight video. Put you down and we'll go to another topping. We'll just keep topping it up. If you have tryptophobia, the fear of holes, it's a thing. There was a picture of boobs years ago and someone had edited like wasp holes in it. It was fucking nightmare inducing. And I never looked for that shit again, but that actually looks kind of nice. It looks like sort of like the panel you'd see in like a sci-fi movie. Like if you're walking along the Starship Enterprise and it's like there'd just be holes in a panel for venting. And I like the randomness of it. Anyway, this gets away from that sound. That being the Benchmark, even though it's not made by Benchmark, it's very confusing because Benchmark, those motherfuckers, I love them, took the name Benchmark and called themselves Benchmarks. When everyone said something, it's like the Cadillac of automobiles. You know who started that? Cadillac. So anytime you talk about the Cadillac of anything else, which is supposed to be the best of anything else, you understand. Anyway, this is a smaller chassis, obviously, same thickness, actually more manageable, not quite as minuscule as the 50, but high-low medium gains, again, physical switches, XLR and RCA inputs on the back. I still have the silicone covers here. We've got a ground lift switch. You know what, I don't remember having the balanced TRS in the back. A lot of the new stuff, not all the topping new stuff, has actually gone to completely using these instead of full-size XLRs. I should have whipped this out. This was up in my office, which is why I didn't whip it out. But, you know, balanced in with output, RCA in and out. This is a full-fledged. This has in and out as well. This has in and out. This has in and out. A lot of these you can use as a preamp, but this sounded warmer. This sounded less linear, but more exciting to listen to. I'm glad. I'm so glad, because I was worried that everything Topping made since they made the A90 was just going to sound like an A90 over and over again in a different fucking form factor. Whereas the A50S kind of matches perfectly the linearity of that. This breaks away and gives you just more cream, more enjoyment. I'm going to get to a couple of amplifiers here, notably this one, that don't sound linear at all, and that's the best part. So if you're looking for a slightly less expensive than the A90, slightly more fun listening experience than that or that, this your boy. However, I will say right now, I'm going to just go right to it. I was thinking about skipping over it for a little bit. This is the Schiit Magnius. And I think these two share very similar sound qualities, although I've never actually done a shootout with them. They're both balanced outputting. They're both switchable. Where this has a power switch on the front, the Schiit's on the back. I'll never not be pissed about that, because at least this you can turn it on and off, and there is an extra switch in the back. But Schiit's just like, nah, brah. And I understand thermal, when you turn a unit on and off, it's bad for it. Let me give you a little bit of advice. This is random throughout the fucking video, all advice. What breaks electronics is not leaving them on all the time. Well, leaving them on all the time costs you money. You pay for that. What breaks electronics is when they get hot and then cold and then expand and then contract and then on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off. If you have a computer and you don't have to worry about your electric bill because it's 11 cents a kilowatt hour like it is where I am, and you turn it off every night in a basement and it gets to like 55 degrees, and you turn it on and you play a game and it gets to 155 degrees or 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it gets back down to 50 degrees. Everything expands and contracts and expands and contracts and weakens and breaks. You're better off just getting it on and letting it sit at a normalized temperature. Just leave it alone. So I can't, that's my thing. But now the Schiit Magnius, a lot of these were good enough to just make it up to my office, because I have stuff here that I use for testing and I use for reviews, but obviously I can live when I'm just in my days off up in my office, just, doing descriptions of shit, which is still not a day off, but I'm just listening to music or something. The Magnius made it upstairs and the A30 Pro made it upstairs. So just think about that. These two have very similar, one's made in America, one's made in China. I prefer the build of the topping. I prefer the controls of the topping. But I'm not going to deny the Magnius its spot on this list, because, again, it sounds fucking good. Where were we? We did you. Let's move over here. JDS Labs EL2. Looks very similar to the L1. In fact, I took it off the shelf not knowing if I grabbed an EL1 or an EL2 because I have one. They're identical. Big old power brick plugs into this. You have a power button, and you could switch from headphones to either of these out. Here is, actually, that might be this that does that, unless that's gain. It's been a while since I've used this. But there's your gain, and there's your in, and there's your out. It's all RC, and it's all aluminum. And the volume knob is just this massive thing, which I need to go get an Anime Girl sticker, like some of these other ones have. I have a round one. I have round ones. I'm going to plop that fucker on there, so you just, boop, turn it. This feels the most special of all the amplifiers. Always. I've put these giant Soundrise half silicone domes on there, so it could just sort of like hover there, not slide around. But you put this on your desk, it's only a 1/4-inch output, so you can't run balanced. There's whispers of there being a balanced version, which may have a 4-point whispers, just whispers. We'll see where 2022 brings us, boys and girls, because I guess what? If this could ever be supportive of all my fucking balanced headphones, and it sounded like this does, which does lean more towards like the A90 linearness, but oof, it'll sound good. This you put on your desk, you plug your headphones into it, you plug your back into it, and you just sort of like gently caress with your fingers. You're just like, I'm going to do magical Cosma finger things with the knob. And beautiful. I wish that JDS Labs came out with more stuff every year so I had more to review. That's my biggest problem with them. Like fucking SMSL. I'm dying under a wall of SMSL. Literally the 6 showed up today. SH6, SU6, SH9, SU9, S9N. There's like the fucking 8s, or there's a new 8s, a version 2. It's like there's too many. I want JDS Labs to come out with stuff. Granted, they're an American company and very small, but my God, does their products just... If you don't want their just amp, you get the Element 2 combo, where you get most of everything that this has with the DAC built in, and then you're really done. Then you're really just... You just retire. Let me talk about this. Hello. This is an SMSL VMV A1. And I almost didn't include it in this video because legitimately it's a speaker amp. And I said I was going to do things with speaker amps, but it's not a DAC. It's just an amp. It's just an amp. It's a very expensive, I think it's $660 speaker amp that comes from their VMV line, which is their higher end line. And it has these spiked feet, which you can see. I have the Soundrise domes here because I brought this places and I didn't want to loosen things and didn't want to damage my table. But this son of a bitch is Class A, and I mean Class A, Class A. I mean, fuck you, Class A, Class A. Although somehow slightly more efficient, which means that maybe it's not Class A, maybe it's more Class A. But it gets hot as fuck. It gets so hot that it has a temperature readout on the fucking screen. And when you run speakers with it, it sounds It sounds exact. If you don't know what Class A sounds like, buy one of these and astonish yourself. So you pick one of these up, use it for speakers, everything's hunky-dory and dandy. Then you realize that back here, hidden amongst the beautiful RCAs and these, is a 1/4-inch jack for a headphone. And you're like, well, that's like a tertiary thing. Secondary? Would it be secondary? Is there anything else this does? I guess that's the secondary thing, not the tertiary. Tertiary means third. Secondary is second. Fourthiary? What's fourth? Anybody English scholar? Fifthiary? Fourthiary? Tertiary? Tertiary doesn't sound like 3. Anyway, you plug a headphone into this headphone out, this back fucking firing, so you have to like give it the old reach around. And you hit the button and it switches over, and you have high-low gain on the headphone out, which is nice, in the menu. And you turn it up and you're like, that's the most extra creamy sounding thing I've ever heard. Like the Singxer, I praise the Singxer. I absolutely fucking love the Singxer. The Singxer is a pre-out. The Singxer is balanced. The Singxer is got these amazing components built into it. It's beautiful. This is the Singxer ×2. It's almost so much that if you had only one amp in your budget, I probably couldn't recommend this, because you'll never know what your headphones actually sound like. You'll just know what the A1 is fucking doing to them. And I love it. Where are those headphones? Are they there? Where'd you go? Somewhere around here are the Tim Socks, which are like $2,000 planars. And I use them and I listen to them and they're like, wow, these are linear. Wow, these are super linear. I could mix and master music on these. These are fucking insanely linear. Like, wow. I love them, but I don't really want to listen to them. Like, not for pleasure. Then I plugged them into this. I'd use an adapter, 1/4-inch to fucking 4.4, because of course it's a balanced headphone only. I plugged it in, plugged it into this, and then this stayed up in my office. I never used it for I used it for speakers like 4 days. I used it for RB42s, which are obviously the greatest speakers on the earth. But then I just plugged the adapter in, I put it on the desk, and I have to remember every day to turn it the fuck off, because it gets to like 60 fucking degrees Celsius if it just sits there. If it's just sitting there, it's just like, I'm going to start cooking now. I was afraid to put things on top of it. I was worried the sticker was just going to peel off. Just peel off from the heat. But you know what? It sounded like it was being plugged into fucking fire. It expanded everything. It's like when you drop a dry sponge into water and it does that thing. That's what music does on this. And it doesn't quite have that impact on speakers. But then again, you know what? I should really bring this into my sunroom and try it on the Fortes, because it's only 10 watts a channel for the speaker out. But you know what that makes it for the fucking headphone out? It's only 10 watts a channel for the headphone out, but that would be at very low ohms and impedances. This thing, I will never stop sucking its dick. I'm a wolf girl. Suck my dick. I just can't stop. You We'll do you. Speaking of things that are only balanced in and only balanced out, Xduoo, XDO4. I saw this. I did the O1 and the O2, and those were like little tube hybrids, and I was like, that's cute. Like, look, that's the X01 didn't have the power. The 2 was so much better. I'm like, oh, everyone run out and buy the 2 for $100. Then the 4 showed up, and I'm like, what the fuck? Did they just glue 2 separate amplifiers together with 1 input for each, and then 1 knob for each, and then give you a combined output? Yeah, that's what they did. And because of that, because this is literally fucking miniature monoblock hybrid tubes, you get separation. Like, you literally turn the right channel up and then turn the left channel up. And the whole reason that this is impossible for people usually to buy is they have to get a preamp. So you could output from one of these, RC or XLR into this, and then control this volume here. You just fix this volume, and then you control it elsewhere. Once you do that, this never left my office. I've got an extra one of these sitting on the shelf I use for the yard sales. It's been sitting there, brand new. I forgot I think Xduoo sent me one, and I think Apo sent me one. And I got an extra one, and I could make a quick buck. But I haven't put it in the yard sale for like a year. 6 months, 8 months. It just sits there and I go, no, what if I need that? I don't want to risk, selling it, and then I need it. What if it's one of those amps that, again, that's the line. The A90 is the line. I want amps that fuck with the line. And if you're going to fuck with it, you can fuck with a little bit, or you can fuck with a lot of it. This is a lot of it. Now I could include a bunch of other amplifiers in this that are sitting here. The TA26, because since this is a tube hybrid, I guess I should have included tube amps. I think the TA26 is really the only tube amp in 2021 that I talk about. I mean, I just went through the list. The Elise, there's been a couple that are not here that were just borrowed from people or loaners. I think the GSX Mini I talked about, like I would like to have that on the desk here to talk about it. I will, in the description, there'll be a separate section for amplifiers I'm not currently talking about, but should have had a mention because they're literally not fucking here. But anyway, back to this. This almost sounds more tubey and wider than most wide tubey tube amps that people tell you to spend $800-900 for. This thing is fucking glorious. It's a power murderer. Like, you literally, if you put this up to maximum and you accidentally max out your inputs voltage, whatever headphones plugged into this, which by the way, balanced out, is in 4.4. Also, it also has a weird balanced in the front that's 4.4, which no one's going to use. But it will distort. And that's how you know it's a good tube amp. Because good tube amps don't worry that you're going to distort them. You're in charge. You are in charge of not distorting. You're supposed to set your levels correctly and set your inputs correctly and be good with it. And it's under $200. I don't care how, I said this in the review. I remember this much from the review. I don't care what your budget is. You've got $15,000 to spend on source equipment and headphones. Spend an extra $200 and get a fucking XDO4. Or, no, I'm sorry, not XDO4, 604. I'm fine. Everything's fine. We have these two and then the Burson. Let's do this. Let's pull this out. Pull these out. This I got to talk about. This is a new edition, the Ho200. So the Ho200. Don't, no offense. It looks like every other amplifier. It looks like the Singxer. It looks like the A90, but it's SMSL's entry. And I'm gonna give it some time, just a little bit of time, because where it differs from the topping and the Singxer is it's right in the middle. It's not neutral, boring, fucking like that's not boring, but it's like neutral, and it's not like class A wonk fun, like holy shit. It is a perfect, powerful blend of both of them in that level of quality, and the level of detail retrieval, and the level of fucking noise floor. And it's in a beautiful, like, they've actually made the case look like the one from the VMVA1. It's a little bit lighter. We've got our balance. We've got our non-balance. We've got the switches that are actual switches, which I can't state. Low, medium, high. Look, front power switch, shit. 4.4 out, 1/4 inch out, but and it's cheaper than the other two. So if you can't decide on a Singxer or an A90, get a Ho200 and be done with it. Because it's a perfect blend of both. I'm going to put it back now. I actually have to get this hooked up for the rack. It's going to be on the rack. I just can't right now because I'm out of DACs for the racks. And I don't want to use splitters for the shitters. We understand, right? We understand what we're talking about. All right, do I want to end on the Burson or end on the Audiophile? Let's end on the Audiophile. Let's talk about the Burson. Firstly, I'm going to give a slight warning. According to one survey, one Russian guy, I think, he measured, and someone else can do this. If you're watching this and you have the ability to measure DC offset, please, in the comments here or on Hi-Fi Guides, go to the post for this, plug into the various outputs, turn this on. Go from like dead off to on and measure the DC offset. Because someone there said DC offset on the first initial turn on is so high it could damage headphones. And then after a period of a few minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes, it levels out and it becomes normal. But I worry when someone tells me that, even if it's only one person. Meanwhile, I sit here with it on my desk, and every time it's time to do a review, flip switch, power on, and oh my God. So what makes the Burson different than the other headphone amps here? Well, firstly, you can kind of tell it looks different, which is nice. Geshelli's wood, this thing's an eyedrop shape, that's fucking tubes with an anime girl that I added. It doesn't come with the anime girls. This is a living, breathing heatsink. It kind of reminds me of the old days when they used to sell like CD-ROM drives that sat on top of your computer and they had to look cool. This is that. Digital volume. No, anything else here have digital volume? Well, you do. Anything else here have menu options? Well, you do. You're cheating. Get out of here, A1. But the big seller on the Burson is that even though it's got it's got a microphone pass-through, which is like, I guess, here's for a headset mic. You could use it for a 4-pin headset, and then you could have the microphone pass out of this and go into your computer and not have a grounding fault. Literally the last thing on my mind when I concern myself with this. What matters to me on this is that it's got op amps that are rollable, and it sounds like a super Singxer. Like, you know what? It's very hard to describe. This is probably the hardest amp I'm going to have to describe right now. I'm glad I'm getting it out of the way and not doing it last, because I could talk about hard and soft and linear and too clean and adding like low end, but I forget what video I did like a month ago, and I had to plug in a bunch of different headphones, and I have all these amplifiers lined up. And for some reason, I am inexplicably drawn to plug every one of them into the Burson. Every fucking one of them. And I don't understand it. Whatever the op amps are doing, whatever the Burson build inside of this is doing, makes me want to listen to it. Like, I want to listen to certain headphones on the A1. I want to listen to certain headphones. Oh, I got to hear them on that. And then the Singxer, you know, but then pull out the Geshelli Labs. Like, I got to try it with, you know, it's a high MP. But everything beckons I try it on the Burson, on the Soloist 3. I don't know. I can't explain it. And look at this thing. It's fucking beastly. It stands out as like, that's something I want to hear. I want to own this and touch it. I want to turn that digital knob, press that button. So, I mean, check it out. Check out with caution. See if anyone else is reporting any issues. I've never had any issues with it, but fuck. By the way, I'm using a glass shelf from Monoprice, and this is that Grove-made wooden stand. So I've made like a nice tower for audio equipment. Yeah, the Burson stands the fuck out. It's one of the more recent additions to the rack, so I think that's probably why. But regardless of that fact, I don't want to ever get rid of it. It just lives here. Now, speaking about things that I'll never get rid of and that live here. IFI Zen Can. The Zen DAC is the DAC amp combo. When I do the other video that's about DAC amp combos, you bet your fucking sweet little ass it'll be in there. But since we're talking about pure amplifiers, here's one. So look at the back of it. Power plug, balanced output, balanced input, 4.4 pentacons. Single-ended input, 3.5 millimeter. Single-ended input, RCAs. So you can feed it with an RCA, you can feed it balanced, you can feed it single-ended. It'll give you an output. It's a normal headphone amp, just weirdly built like a bar of soap. You get to the front, you get your power buttons, you get your input gains, you get your input switches, your input gains, 4 different gain modes, you get your balance, you get the nicest fucking knob of any of these. Even you, JDS Labs. Like, I like your knob, but you wiggle a little bit, and you're a little bit too easy to throw around. This motherfucker with that machined, it just feels like there's a spoon and this whole thing is filled with honey. And when you turn it, it's like, I'm going to turn in this honey. Fuck yeah. This is an experience just to touch it. And then you listen to it and you go, well, that's not linear, is it? No, it's too wide and fun. This is all the accumulation of all the things that I like about amplify. This is the culmination, not accumulation. It can accumulate culminations, I guess. But it's all the things I want in an amplifier. It's the right price. It's under $200. It's built like a fucking German tank when they're not at war. It's got this button here, which, let me tell you, X-Bass, don't use it. Because as soon as you do, all your headphones will have to be re-listened to. I'm assuming you have more than one. I'm not assuming you have this amount. This is go to fucking hospital if you have this much amount. But everything you listen to is like, well, that sounds better. But I'm a purist, so I don't want to use X-Bass. So you turn it off. And then you miss it. You miss it bad. So you turn it back on. And then you put on 3D. And in some headphones, 3D just fixes them. I didn't know there was anything wrong with my headphone. There's nothing wrong with my headphone. I don't need to use 3D. There's nothing wrong with my headphone. Then you put on 3D and there's nothing wrong with your headphone. Now there's nothing wrong with your headphone. And then X-Bass comes on with it. And it's like, fuck. And all of both those switches, there's no digital inputs on this. Nothing's digital in here. Those are analog realm where they're doing that bass boost and 3D. How do you 3D something in analog? I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense, but I fucking love it. So this, if you could deal with the weird inputs, if you're going to balance it in. If you want to RCA in and balance in, I didn't really notice a difference, honest to God. If you want to single end it in with a 3.5 millimeter, that's fine too. Literally plug it from the headphone jack on your phone, if you got one, into the back of this, and all of a sudden you have the best fucking affordable amplifier on earth. That's it. IFI makes some of the best amplifiers on earth. Oh, the one that I will remember that I reviewed this year was the IFI ICANN Signature, Pro Signature. It was like $2,200, a big son of a bitch. I will give that a shout out. I will recall that from memory. Every button, every switch, every sound, everything it did. It's got tubes. It doesn't have tubes. It's got pre-outs, although you can't switch them off. That thing was a Swiss Army knife amp with like 16 watts a channel. Now imagine taking that, stripping away the stuff you really kind of don't need, keeping everything you do and putting it in that. That's what that is. And that's what the other thing is. That's the IFI fucking Signature. It's for people who have like, I don't have a problem with spending all my money on this. And honestly, if you're going to throw $2,500 on an amp, it's not the worst place to spend your money. I think I'm done. You're a combo. I'm not talking about you yet. But yeah, no, thank you for stopping by. I now have to return all of these things from whence they came. Bring the bands back together, so to speak. So thank you for thank you. I just said thank you for stopping by. I'm hungry. I got to go eat something. Wallpaper girl. What is she from? Is that Rent-A-Girlfriend? Is that, she looks like everything that Garnt ever has in his thumbnails. So I'm assuming that's the chick from Rent-A-Girlfriend. I haven't seen it. You guys can tell me if I should see it. But download that wallpaper in the description. All wallpapers that I use ever are on my Patreon and Subscribestar, just as a big collection. I'm not selling them. I'm just collecting them. In case you don't want to go to every description of my videos. If you want to find the original artists, use Sauce Now or IQDB to reverse image search these, although I have mostly edited them to add like the white to the top. But if you can find the original artists and patronize them, that'll help greatly because I have to patronize like 40 of them. Anyway. That wallpaper, links to all of these and the ones I discussed, links to the Grovemate stand, links to, I think they sell medications on Amazon for like schizophrenia, because I feel like going over this shit, how much I remember about each one of these amps is fucking frightening, because I can't remember people's names when they're talking to my face. So I guess that's just who I am. Links to anime stickers, because every good amp needs an anime sticker. Fuck, I need more anime stickers. Add it to my shopping list. Patreon, Subscribestar, see reviews early. This one will probably exist. Maybe I'll put this one out like right after Christmas. There's like a period of time between Christmas and New Year's. Maybe I'll just throw this one out there. It's just going to be a lot of effort to put the description together. But yeah. See reviews early on Patreon or Subscribestar. Participate in yard sales on Patreon and Subscribestar. Obviously, these all survive the yard sales. Because every month I have to look back and go, well, I reviewed this. Do I want to keep it around or do I want to make like $75? Keep it. Keep it. Keep it. It's extra. Keep it. Keep it. Keep it. Keep them all. So none of these ended up in yard sales, but that doesn't mean I don't sell everything. So yard sales, 1st to the 10th of every month. International shipping's half price. USA and Canada, free shipping. And the bids just have to be an off number. Like you can't have an even number. Don't bid $50 because 15 people will bid $50. And then I have to go have another yard sale, a mini yard sale inside of that so people can bid differently. Fuck you. Anyway. See reviews early, participate in yard sales, get access to the Sound Demo Oasis channel, which if you like my sound demos and you notice they keep disappearing from YouTube, that's where you go to get the sound demos. Eventually, they'll just stop being available altogether, I'm pretty sure. Lawyers are terrible people. And my main review channel is getting hit too, so it's like, just leave me alone. I played a song for 12 seconds, all right? I just wanted to dance. But get into the Sound Demo Oasis. For $10 a month instead of $5, you get into the behind-the-scenes private Telegram chat where you can ask me questions. You really can't ask me questions on almost any other platform. You catch me on a live stream, maybe. I answer the YouTube comments, maybe for 5 hours after I release a video. I'm paying attention, and then it's gone. But if you really want to ask me questions, you have a budget, you've got a room, you don't know what you're doing, you got a hot sister and you want to sell her to me, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not buying. I'm not in the market. I've got a Canadian hookup. But yeah, that was what the patronage chat is for. $10 a month gets you into that. And then there's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. There's a lifetime swap meet channel where you can trade gear with your homies there. And that means if you're in the $10 chat and you don't want to be my patron anymore, you're still in that swap meet channel because you proved yourself by giving me $10. Anyway, I'm done. Are we done? Everything here, all fucking 52 million. I forgot to pull her out when I was talking about stickers. 52 million. Why don't I not have a sticker on you? This needs the most stickers. I need to just sticker bomb that. Anyway, I'm done. That's here. You're here. We're done. I'm hot yet cold. I think I'm losing my mind, and I will see you all in 2 days, or maybe 1 day, or maybe 4 hours. I'm in the room beside you.